Hi everybody and welcome to how to play the game of Gwent. If you're unfamiliar, Gwent is the card game in the game of The Witcher 3. It's really cool. It's a deck building game. It is a fully fledged game that works and you can play with tons of NPCs throughout the game. But it is a novel idea, so I'm putting this video together in hopes that people who are new to the concept can learn a little bit more about the game before they dive in. Now the game of Gwent features 4 factions. There's the Northern Realms, the Scoia'tael, the Monsters, and the Nilfgaardian Empire. As you can see here, I don't have a deck for any of these factions except for the Northern Realms. That's the one you're going to start out with when you're earlier on into the game. I'm about like 6 or 7 hours into the game. I haven't started building out decks for the other factions. Now it's a deck building game, which means that you're going to be going around the world of The Witcher 3, talking to NPCs and merchants, and you're going to be buying and collecting cards that you're going to put in your own custom decks. As you can see, I have 28 cards in this deck, with 22 unit cards and 6 special cards. Now you can have as many cards in your Gwent deck as you'd like. You could pack it with all the cards you buy. The thing is, you don't want to do that because when you play a round of Gwent, you're only going to be using 10 cards. It draws 10 cards automatically. For the most part, that's all you're going to get. So the more cards in your deck, the lower the odds are that it's going to draw a card that you'd want it to draw. So I'm keeping it at the recommended 22 unit cards, 6 special cards. And with that, we're going to dive right in. So now, as you can see, there are different types of cards. There's close combat, ranged, and siege. These 3 types of cards are basically your warriors, and they're what's going to have strength attributed to it, and it's what's going to cause damage against the enemy. And then you have weather cards that have effects on all of these cards. So without delaying any further, let's just dive right into a game. So the first thing that happens is a coin is flipped to determine who goes first. In this case, the opponent is going to be going first. And then what happens is that the game will automatically draw 10 cards out of your deck that you're going to be playing with. Now, luckily, it gives you the opportunity to redraw twice. That means you can pick 2 cards out of your initial 10 that you want to replace. That means you could replace one and then replace it again if you don't like what you get. In this case, having 2 weather cards seems a little redundant, so I'm going to swap them out. And then this is redundant, so I guess I'm going to swap this out. My opponent goes first. He places a siege expert. And now it's my turn. So, before I start placing cards, let me explain how it works. So as you can see on the board, there are 3 rows for each side. I have 3 and my opponent has 3. The closest one here is your close combat. Then you have your ranged, and then you have your sieged unit. And the way the game works is you pick cards and you place them in their corresponding rows, and that all adds up to your power. Now, as you can see, each row has a power value on the left-hand side, and then you have a total power, which is right next to those 2 little rubies. The simple way of putting it is essentially you guys are going to take turns placing your cards until you either have more power than your enemy or your enemy has more power than you, and once somebody passes, it determines based on who has the higher number who wins the round. So for the sake of moving the game forward, I'm going to match him and I'm going to place one of my own units right there. And now the opponent's going to go and he's going to place 1. So now he has 2, I have 1. If I were to skip, I would lose this round. Now it seems simple enough. You would think to yourself, just place everything down and whoever has the highest number due to the luck of the draw is going to win. The thing is, these 10 cards are what you're going to have for all of your rounds. So you don't want to use all of your cards right out the gate because then you're going to have nothing left over for the next round or the round after that, and then you're going to end up losing. The winner of the game is whoever wins 2 rounds. Doesn't have to be consecutive, it just has to be 2 rounds. So I'm going to combat him, and I'm going to play one of my ranged units. So now I have 2 options. I can continue to place unit cards to try and get my number above the opponent's, or I could start using weather cards. The way weather cards work is they diminish the power of certain types of cards based on the weather it is. So for instance here, the Biting Frost, this actually affects the close combat cards. As you can see, it sets the strength of all close combat cards to 1 for both players. So if I wanted to knock down his close combat strength to 1, I would use this. However, he already has a close combat card on the field that is 1, so it really wouldn't do much, so there's no use. Impenetrable Fog, that's going to affect the range combat, and that's going to knock it down to 1 as well. We both have a level 4 card in our range slot, so really it's going to even the playing field one way or another. It's not going to help me out. On top of that, there is a rain weather card that will affect the siege ones, and now I could have used that because I don't have any siege cards on the deck, so it wouldn't affect me. But again, his siege card is a level 1. It wouldn't do much, and I don't happen to have one. And then there is a clear weather, which just removes the weather state from the game. So now I'm forced with one of two options. I could keep playing these unit cards to try and surpass him, or I could forfeit the round. And that's where the nuance of the game comes in. Sometimes you're going to want to purposefully lose because you're going to want to save some of your cards for the next round. It's essentially the idea that you want to live to fight another day. And in this case, that's exactly what I want to do. So I'm going to hold triangle to pass. He's probably going to pass because he already has the upper hand, and he wins the round. Now, if he wins the next round, it's game over. So I'm going to have to win this round to stay in the game. All right, so he starts by playing a siege. Now I have 3 close combat cards and 2 sieges. Because I don't have anything to combat his siege, I'm going to start playing my siege cards. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick to siege weapons. The reason for that is if he's got a weather card that hurts siege, he's not going to want to play it because most of his points are in siege. So it's safe to say that if I use my siege cards, I'm going to be safe because he's not going to attack it with a weather card. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my siege cards, and I'm going to hope that that'll help me out. Again, I cannot lose this round or I lose the game, so I'm just going to have to play what I've got. Now this card is a spy. When I place the spy down, it actually goes onto my enemy's team, and those points actually do go towards his power, so it's going to hurt me. The benefit is I get to draw 2 cards from my deck. The opponent passes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my cold weather. The biting frost will reduce me down to 1 power in the close combat range and him down to 2. Since he's passed, I can now place as many cards as I want until I've decided I'm done. Since I need to win this round to keep playing, I'm going to have to just keep placing cards until I surpass his 22. However, for the purposes of demonstration, I'm actually going to leave it at 22 to show you what happens when the round is a draw. Now draws are interesting because a draw doesn't mean that neither person loses, it means both players lose. So in this instance, since I forced a draw there, it means I lose because it was my second loss. You win some and you lose some, so let's dive into another game and see how our luck holds out this time. And now I get to go first. I'm going to start pretty conservatively. I'm going to use these low-level close combat cards. He's given me a spy. Now it's tough. You would think because it's 3-0, now would be a good time to pass, but then that would give him the opportunity to drop 2 or 3 cards. So unfortunately, my hand is sort of forced. I have to just keep playing cards to see what he's got. So I'm going to use another low-level card. I'm going to stop here. This is my limit. I don't want to spend any more units. Unfortunately, he's sort of bested me. He's got 8 cards in his hand while I have 6, so that gives him the benefit there. He's also got 14 against 13. So I'm going to go ahead and surrender this round. I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to try and best him in the next 2 rounds. I'm going to play the spy because I need those 2 extra cards. Now I'm going to start playing siege. Now the opponent passed, so this should be an easy win for me. It's 11-8, so I don't want to use some of these heavy hitters. I just need to get over 3 so we could use someone like this. And so we can win. So now this is it. This battle is going to determine who is going to win the game. Because I won the last round, my faction abilities triggered and I get an extra card. Because I have no weather cards, essentially I'm just going to play everything that I've got. Now luckily I have certain cards like this. The medic here will take one of my discarded cards and will play it instantly. Can't pick a hero or a special card. That's okay. We're going to obviously want to pick whatever's got the highest amount of value there. So we're going to go ahead with the siege card. Here we go. Now he used his clear weather card. That was kind of foolish of him because now I am going to use my leader ability. And my leader ability is that I can pick an impenetrable fog card from the deck and play it instantly. Remember, impenetrable fog affects the ranged units and I don't have any ranged units. So all it's going to do is hurt my opponent and not me. So let's apply it. And now I am forced to pass because I don't have any cards left. He's going to play Impenetrable Fog. His last card doesn't do anything. I win 46-6, and I win the game. This is just a quick look at Gwent. I am certainly not an expert. There is definitely more to this. I think it's an interesting game because the rules are very simple, yet there is a lot of opportunity for some complexity in the strategy of how you play the game. And there are probably a lot of special cards out there that I haven't collected yet. I believe there are 150 in total in the game. You can buy and collect them all, build your special decks, and play against other NPCs. Unfortunately, there's no way to play multiplayer since The Witcher 3 is a single-player game. However, in the special edition of The Witcher 3, I believe it comes with an actual physical version of the game of Gwent, so it does seem like the sort of thing that I can imagine CD Projekt Red would sell later on, that you'd be able to buy and play with your friends in real life. It's an interesting game. Anyway, if you have any tips or suggestions about the rules of Gwent or how to play Gwent successfully, leave them in the comments below so we could all learn this game together. I want to thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye, everybody.